guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Patti and I'm a gnome maker and I also make miniature props. If you like that kind of stuff, be sure to subscribe. Today I'm going to show you how to make this cute little lifeguard gnome, and if you stick around afterwards, I'll have a video showing you how to make the lifeguard chair. If you want to know how to make him, stick around. I'll show you how. Okay guys, for this gnome, you're going to need the pattern, you're going to need a pool noodle, you're going to need a couple little feet, some faux fur, a couple sticks, a couple beads for his hand, a bead for his nose, a little hair noodle, a couple pipe cleaners, a half of a 3-inch ornament, you're going to need some craft foam, you're going to need some neoprene. I bought regular neoprene, it's a little bit too thick to work with. If you're going to get neoprene, get the scuba grade neoprene or some kind of polyester that's stretchy. Alright, let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut out all our faux fur. We got a beard to cut out, and then we got 6 sections that we're going to cut out for the hat. Just pin that down and cut around the back side of that faux fur all the way around, cutting the backing only. Do not cut through the front of the faux fur. This is a good place where you can use a lot of your scraps because it doesn't matter on the little hat part, whether you're on the grain or whatever direction of the fur you want to cut. Just cut out 6 of those little triangular pieces, and it doesn't matter which direction you cut because that hair is going to stand straight up, so it really doesn't matter. We're going to get them all cut out, all 6 of them exactly the same, and that's what's going to go around our little ball. Just get them all cut out. They don't have to be perfect because they are going to be just pulled straight up. Alright, once we get all those cut out, we're going to go ahead and take our comb and we're going to get all the excess fur off of that. Just comb them all out. Do the same thing for all 6 of them, and then we're going to comb our beard out as well. Get all 6 of them combed out because you don't want that hair going everywhere, and it does. And then comb that beard. Alright, then we're going to take our ball and we're going to put on some glasses and cut that little tab off because you don't want it popping up in your eye. Just cut that off. And then we're going to start gluing these little triangles to the top of our hat. Just take them and put them starting at the very center and coming down. And we are going to come up over the edge a little bit, but we are going to trim all that off. Just go straight down with that. And then start adding all the other pieces just side by side until you have them all attached. This doesn't have to be perfect. I'm even going to overlap a little bit here and a little bit, just as long as you get them all on there, because we are going to pull that hair straight up, so it really doesn't matter if you do overlap a little bit. This does not have to be a perfect step. This is a great way, though, to use up all your scraps, because you don't have to go on a certain direction on the fur. Okay, and we're going to get all 6 pieces glued on because we want his hair on his head to be full. If you pull that hair back like I'm doing in this picture right here, it makes it a little bit easier to get it on there. Just pull it straight back as you're holding it, hold it to put it on there. Okay, now that you got it all on there, we're going to go ahead and comb through about 3/4 of an inch from the bottom of the ball, and we're going to pull the hair that's down from the 3/4 of an inch and the pieces that are up, because that's where we're going to put our hat band. So we're going to need to trim some of that off. So about 3/4 of an inch, start pulling that hair up, and then 3/4 of an inch, start pulling the bottom hair down, and then we're going to trim all that off. Once you get it all pulled down, we're going to just take that and trim all the way around the edge. And then we are going to trim around the edge of it on the sides, on the 3/4 inch side, just to get a little bit more of that hair off there, so that when we put our trim on there, it will cover it up and it won't puff out so bad. So really work this part. This is a pretty crucial part. But you're going to go ahead and cut as much off, because you don't want all that hair on there to cover it up with that band for the hat. Alright, now that we get all that trimmed up, we're going to go ahead and attach our hat band. This is going to be our visor. This is going to be the main part of it, and we are going to glue that down at the 3/4 of an inch. So you're going to come over the edge about 1/4 of an inch. Just glue it right in the center, and then glue it all the way around. And you might want to make sure that you pull that hair up out of it, because you do not want the hair to go below it. Alright, once you get that all the way around, we're just going to glue that down. Take your time on this, because I don't know what it is about craft foam. Glue dries pretty fast on there. So So you got to work it in little sections. And then get the other side and meet it up with it. And then glue that closed, and that's going to be the main part of our visor. Okay, then we're going to take the center part of our visor, the little bill, and we're going to stick it onto the middle, right in the center. We're going to add a little glue, and you're going to go ahead and push it all the way flush to the hat. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we are going to cover up all that glue with the little two little strips that we have as well. And you're just going to have to cut these strips. That was a 1 inch by 11 inch, and then the other two little strips are 1/4 inch by 11 inch as well. But don't worry about the glue so much as you're worrying about getting it flush with the hat. Then we're going to take the little strips and we're going to go around the top part of the bill and just put a little bit of glue. Don't put too much. And then start gluing the strip. Don't glue onto the hat, just glue the strip and try to get it as straight across as you can. So you're probably going to come down about 1/4 inch all the way around. Just make sure you try to really keep that consistent as you're pulling that around there. And then glue the other side on around, and then we're going to do the bottom strip as well. And we're going to try to do it about 1/4 inch from the bottom part. And it'll just give it a little bit of decoration on the hat. Okay, and then take your lower strip. So you won't see any of that glue that bill created. So we're just going to cover all that up. And then again, just glue it onto the strip. Take your time and get it on there good, because it does dry fast. And while you're gluing that, I was going to tell you again, on that neoprene, you do want to use a thinner neoprene, because when I got to the point to put my hat onto the body, I struggled because the neoprene was so thick. So try to use something not so thick. Okay, then we're going to take our body fabric and we're just going to glue it to our noodle. Just rolling that up, and we're going to leave about 1/8 inch on the bottom, because we're going to put a circle into the bottom of it, just to kind of close that up. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I like to trim it out a little bit better than anybody, if anybody were to pick it up and see that there's a noodle inside. So let that glue dry real good, and then we're going to go ahead and put that circle on the bottom, and we're going to put it inside. We're going to indent it in a little bit. So go ahead and push it on in, and then we're going to glue it on in. It just gives it a nice trimmed out edge or bottom. Alright, then while that's drying, we're going to go ahead and do his feet. And we are going to take our hair noodle, and we are going to cut it in half with some pliers. And that's going to be our legs. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and pull out our wires, and we're going to put those together and trim them even, because we want them to be trimmed even. Okay, then we're going to take our wires and we're going to cut off the very, very tip, probably about maybe 1/4 inch where it's bent, because we don't want those sticking out of the top of the noodle. And then we're going to come back in with the regular pliers and flatten those out. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and put that back into that noodle, and we're going to add a little glue just to make sure that stays. And if you have any excess on top, once you get that put in there, just go ahead and trim it on out, because we want that wire to be flush with the body. Okay, then go ahead and put that into the shoe. And right there, I had a part that stuck out, so I'm going to have to trim that off. So add a little bit of glue to the bottom of the shoe and push that noodle all the way on in there. And then trim that excess off. Then we're going to put our sticks in there, and we're going to put our stick in about 1/2 inch, and we're going to glue it in. Now I'm going to show y'all here in a little bit because I totally messed up my legs because I didn't do what I'm going to show you to do, and I did modify the pattern later to reflect what you need to do. Okay, just put those in about 1/4 of an inch, make sure that they're even, and kind of straighten them up. Okay, then we're going to take our fabric and we're going to wrap it around and just make sure that that seam ends in the back so you have a nice finished out edge. Again, this neoprene is pretty thick, so I did have to hold it for a pretty good long time to make sure the glue dried. But they do make a scuba grade neoprene that's a lot thinner, and it would probably work pretty good. Okay, and then wrap that on around, and we're going to glue that on down. And where I'm telling you on this part, see how the fabric goes above the leg? I would cut it flush because when we're putting it onto the body, we want that noodle and that top of that leg to be flush with each other, and that's what I didn't do. And I had to figure that out after I went ahead and made the body. I had to come back in and redo a noodle and start and fix the legs, and I'll show you what I did on that. But if you do it ahead of time, and I am giving you the pattern so that it is the right size, because it was a little bit hard to get that neoprene straight when you're trying to cut it at an angle. So go ahead and get that flush before you were to put that that fabric around that leg. But just wrap that around, make sure that that seam is in the back because we don't want to see that. And another thing with this thicker neoprene, it had a black edge on it, and when I got done, I mean, I was happy with the final product, but I wish I had got something a little bit thinner. Wrap that on around and let that dry. I was trying to, you know, create like a wetsuit, and that's why I chose the neoprene. Alright, once you get that good and dry, we're going to go ahead and attach them to the body. We're just going to figure out where we want them exactly. I put them about an inch and about 1.25 inches apart on the sticks. If you have a chair or whatever you're using, you might want to see exactly where you want him to set before you were to cut your holes. And then you're just going to cut a slit in there. Make sure that they go flush to the bottom and not stick up, otherwise your gnome will be sitting off the chair. And then my scissors weren't working really good, so I had to go back and get my little thin snippers and cut that in a little bit better. So the sewing scissors didn't work, but these little bitty scissors worked great. Push those all the way in so when you put those sticks in, they can grab onto that noodle. Okay, and push on that on in, and that's where you aren't going to have a lot of room to attach that noodle, that leg, so you are going to need to go ahead and cut that flush. And that's where I did it. You can see all the glue I have already tried on there. I'm having to go back and trim my legs out flush with that noodle. And it did take me a little while to get that straight across there because it is hard to cut a straight line at an angle. So be sure and cut your fabric flush with that noodle before you put that leg into that noodle. I don't know what I was thinking. That way when you put it in there, then the noodle will glue to the noodle and you won't have to put a bunch of glue around the neoprene, so it stays clean. Sorry I got out of the picture a little bit there, but just put a little bit of glue inside the noodle and push that leg on in there and hold it in there real firm until it dries. And then go ahead and do the same thing for the other one. And we're going to glue it in because I already cut it too. And we're going to go ahead and glue it, put a little glue inside the noodle and push that leg on through. And then hold it tight so it grabs in there real good and you don't have you don't see the seam on the legs. Okay, then I went and put him on a chair, figured out he was a little bit heavy, a little bit face heavy, so I went ahead and put weighted beads down inside of my noodle, and that took care of it. And then I'm going to take a piece of fabric and put it right over the top part of that. Just cut a strip of fabric and glue that right down over the top of those beads so that they stay in. Make sure that every bit of that's sealed all the way around on there so none of them seep through. And then just glue that in. Alright, while that's drying, we're going to go ahead and make our arms. And I'm just taking a thick pipe cleaner and rolling it up in the arms. I was going to do a noodle at first, but I didn't think I was going to get his hat on if I made them too thick. But he was able to bend his arms with this pipe cleaner. Not as good though as if I had used a thinner fabric. So I'm just going to roll that on up in there. And then I'm going to add his bead into the hand. And I got out of the camera a little bit, I'm sorry, but just put a little glue inside that hole and stick that bead on down in there. And then we're going to do the same thing for the other arm. Just going to fold that in half. And we're going to glue that down onto our strip on the long side of that strip, and then roll it up and leave a little room for that bead. Okay, and glue that side down, and then we are going to trim those off a little bit shorter on the pipe cleaner part to attach it to the body. Just snip those off about an inch up, bend them over, and we are going to literally hang those off the side of the body and then glue them in. And then we're going to put a little bit of glue underneath his arm just to hold it in good. And then we're going to do the same thing for the other arm. Spin that over, hang it off of there, and glue it in. And then put a little bit of glue underneath his arm. And just make sure that dries really, really good. Then we're going to go ahead and attach his beard. I'm going to go all the way up to the top edge of his body and glue it on. And then I'm going to add his nose just a little bit below the edge. Okay, and then to get the hat to go on good, I had to take the neoprene, bend it in the back, put a little bit of glue in there, kind of shape it, pull it in, and then hold that really, really well until it dries. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and attach the hat. And you can see I struggled a little bit, but it did go on. Just put a bunch of glue all around the inside edge of the hat, the top of the hat. And then we're just going to push that right onto his body. And you want to use a lot of glue, just don't put it too close to the edge because you don't want it oozing out. And then really hold that good until he dries. Alright, then I just got a little Lifeguard keychain. I went and put him on my chair, bend his legs how I wanted him to, and then I'm just going to attach it to his body. And just put it right there. Alright, there you have it, a cute little gnome, Lifeguard gnome. If you like the video, hit like. If you want to see future videos, hit subscribe. And if you want to be notified when I have another video, hit the bell. Thanks for watching. I also want to show you a couple more things. If you want to learn how to make the Lifeguard chair that I've set mine in, stay tuned. I have that video coming soon. And then I also made a megaphone, and I gave y'all the pattern for the megaphone itself. You just glue it together in the back, add an earbud, cut off the wire, and tie it on. Nothing to it. Thanks again.